waiting for people to get on. Hey man, just waiting for more people to jump in here so we can talk some spoilers. So hopefully you have seen the movie. Waiting for more people to jump in. Hopefully you guys can hear me. Let me know if you can't. Because if you can, I'll take my headphones out. So feel free to talk to me about the spoilers. What did you think of it? Hopefully you've seen the movie. Because if you hadn't, I don't want to mess it up for you. Just waiting for a few more people to jump in, and then I will talk about it. Well, I'll start off by saying that, okay, here's where the spoilers are going to start. It's crazy how this movie is the highest budget movie in the franchise, like 20 freaking million. That is like unreal for like a horror movie. I mean, for Halloween, like for the franchise, it's crazy. I thought it was gonna be like 10 or a little bit under, but when I looked deeper, when I Googled it, it said 20 million. It's like, wow, it's crazy. And um, there's a, I'm trying to think of what spoiler to start with. Like how the flashback, the 1978 flashback, or the 1978 flashback, wow. Like how some people were led to believe it was centered around Lonnie, but it really wasn't. It was centered around Hawkins, and it was crazy. Like, like how we dove a little deeper into what we already knew, like where he was there when Michael was arrested and taken back to the sanitarium, and we know that he stopped Loomis from killing Michael or trying to kill Michael, and but we did not know that Hawkins accidentally killed his partner while he was being strangled by Michael Myers. It's like it adds a whole nother like something there, like okay, like why he feels eager to kill Michael, almost as eager as Laurie is at this point. And like, okay, and that I was not expecting that. I wasn't expecting him to survive after his attack by Sartain in the 2018 sequel. But I'm sure a lot of people were happy about that because he was a very likable character, and I also liked him too. And I'm like, well, that's a shame. Well, I guess he's dead. Well, nope, he's not. He survived, so that's a pretty good relief. And I will say, yeah, this movie did got it way too much hate for what you expect in a slasher movie or in a horror movie to begin with, which is with characters who are basically like considered stupid or whatever or make dumb decisions. These are things this is not uncommon in a horror movie. You know what I mean? And I mean, yeah, it did. They kind of did go the extra mile in that, like to where, I mean, the movie's called Halloween Kills, and with a movie title like that, you are to expect a high body count, and we did get a high body count, like seriously. And let's look on the other side of the coin, where you almost expect these characters to be smart enough to survive the whole movie. And now, if a good chunk of these characters did survive the whole movie, let's be real, it'll be a whole nother level of disappointment where you're like, that's not the Michael Myers I knew. Like, I mean, like they turned Michael Myers into a wimp. Like, he's better than that. He would have slaughtered half of these people. Like, what is going on here? They all lived through the movie? What a letdown. It's called Halloween Kills. Like, what a letdown. See, that's like, would you rather be, like that disappointed, like in that way? I certainly wouldn't. I would be more disappointed than you guys are with this movie already. But also there's not a lot of you on here, but it'll be pre-recorded and uploaded later, so you guys can just rewind back and just sort of get through here. But yeah, trying to think of what else of what happened here. A lot happened. And I also did like how, man, there's so much to talk about. Like, I needed time to process this movie to really talk about the spoilers, because it was pretty wild, and then it was very satisfying. But it wasn't a perfect movie. It wasn't. I mean, but also wow, like I never did a live video before, so bear with me. It's just crazy what happened in this movie. And also, I mean, I'm gonna not gonna go in in like in each pattern as the movie went on. I may bounce from what happened to the end and then jump over to the second act and then the first act and jump back to the final act. And so I'm just gonna bounce around in this live video on the spoilers. But yeah, with the ending, or no, before we get to the ending, to the hospital scene, like where the mental patient um, from Smith's Grove, who was also there with Michael, who was on the bus with him, and the one other patient that they didn't catch yet, um, where he ends up having people thinking that he's Michael Myers. I think that's basically because the police wouldn't give information to report on the news. Like, yeah, this is the guy here or whatever, which is that's something in the movie that could have been handled just a little better. But how it was executed overall, was I thought it was done well. I mean, it had its cons a little bit, but like at first when I guess when it would say "Evil dies tonight," maybe the chanting was a little much, but then again, it does show a level of um, anger and outrage that people, I guess it can be basically real. And it, like people of Haddonfield have been in like 40 years of harmony, like where it's like almost the safest place you could be in prior to that night in 2018, where it all just goes to shit again since 1978. So everyone was all comfortable, and then they got the rug pulled from under their feet, and then they are pissed off and terrified about that. To where you can tell these people got way too comfortable with like how things have been prior to that night, and then have that ripped away from them, then they all turn into they they go ballistic. And but what people are considering nitpicks in this movie is what you would expect in a slasher movie to begin with. Like, oh, these people are stupid, but like I said, if they were smart and they were able to escape from Michael, and Michael didn't managed to kill like a good like half of those people, you would be disappointed. That's just all there is to it. I mean, like, am I wrong on that? Mm. And also, yeah, to the ending of the movie, like how it ended. Like I had a strong suspicion that that's what was gonna happen. Maybe not in that way, but the fact that Laurie's daughter Karen gets killed in this movie, I just said I have a feeling that one of those women is gonna die in this movie, and it's gonna put some impact into how it ends. And I feel like that's definitely what's gonna happen with the next movie, because you know, Laurie's daughter was killed, and then that's gonna just enrage her, and then that's gonna probably enrage Allison even more because she lost both her parents that night, her friends, her boyfriend, and she had to watch her boyfriend die, and she went through a lot of turmoil in that night. And to see her in Halloween Ends is just gonna be like where she is like just like very damaged and very ready to go after Michael, much like how we've seen Laurie in the 2018 sequel, where she's very damaged and ready to go after Michael. But I don't think Allison's gonna be afraid to face him when we get to Halloween Ends. So it's crazy. It's crazy. And and I felt like the trying to think here. Trying to think here. Like how they, like had the returning characters back. I mean, like that was handled pretty well, which also I thought it was done well. But and the way they had Marion Chambers in there into the mix, where she is friends with Lindsay and Tommy and Lonnie, I didn't expect that. I was like, I thought maybe they would just run into her, like where maybe let's say perhaps she works at the hospital or some way like that. That's how I would have done it. But I mean, I'm like, okay, people. It shows you how people are handling it differently, like what they've had to suffer with the encounter with Michael Myers, and it seems like like Michael has managed to get under people's skin with his presence. With Dr. Loomis, I mean, definitely him, and then Laurie Strode, and then Tommy Doyle, and then Lindsay Wallace, and then Lonnie Elam. Like, they're all damaged from like it's just 40 years of damage, and then and some people are like, oh, people wouldn't behave like that. People wouldn't behave like this. Um, like people who suffer from PTSD, like they deal with, people deal with it differently. So who are we to say that who are we to say people, how would they act like that with, like how they would deal with such trauma like that? Like, who are we to say how they would handle it? I mean, few of these characters handle it differently. And we see how Laurie handles it and where she is prepared for Michael's return. And then you see how Tommy, Lindsay, Marion, and Lonnie deal with it, where they just come together every Halloween night and just, and I guess, and then, they remember what happened like that night. And well, guess in case for Marion, the night before when he escaped. But I do like how there are some more echoes in this movie that are calling back to the first one. Like, for example, when Michael was caught, it pans away and then we focus just on him and then in his surroundings. Or when he's caught, like in the very opening act in the first movie, where Michael was caught by his parents after he kills Judith. And then they just stand out there and it's like a freeze frame moment. And same thing with in this flashback where Michael was standing right where he was in that same night in 1963 and in 1978, and it pans away and then the cops are pointing guns at him. It's a nice little touch of the original movie. Yeah, I really like that a lot. And also, like how Lonnie was going to go into the Myers house in 1978, and then Loomis stopped him and saved him by telling him to leave. But in 40 years later, he actually goes in the house this time. And yeah, I mean, there's a reason why they didn't do that. Hey, Brooke, what's up? And holy crap, what, like, what a crazy movie that was. But trying to think of what else I didn't touch base on. Um, the fact that, like, it does feel like that flashback, like it does feel like it was cut from the first movie, even to the point where, like, my mind was blown with when they actually did show Dr. Loomis on screen, and I'm like, wow, the way they got the guy who almost looks like him, and they added prosthetics on his face where it's like, wow, it is him. Like, in what in the actual fuck? And then putting someone's voice and matching it with his performance, it was done so well. Like, wow. And I'm sure a lot of people have touched base on that, like that, um, where they felt like it was a deleted scene from the first movie. It did feel that like that. I mean, I like how I did that with the music, even to the music score and the look of the movie, where it's like it feels very nostalgic. Even in 2018, it still feels a bit nostalgic. Like I miss that feeling in horror movies, and so I like that we're going back to that a bit, and maybe that's opening the door to bring, like more of these classic slashers back, and maybe that opens the door for other slashers. I mean, Scream is making a comeback after that god awful fourth movie. Sorry if you liked it, I didn't. But this fifth movie looks really good. Like with the trailer that they dropped, I'm like, yeah, this. I feel like this is what Scream 4 should have been from what I've seen so far. But yeah, and I do. My goodness. Um, yeah, feel free to talk to me about your thoughts on the spoilers. Like, just share your thoughts. Like, I'm over here trying to put pieces of this puzzle together that is the movie. Like, wait, let me recollect my thoughts here. Like, okay, because I have a feeling that when I stop this live stream, it's gonna all come back to me. Like, damn it, why didn't I touch base on this and that and this and that and this and that? Oh, and yeah, check out. I don't know if you've seen my video from earlier saying that the live stream is tonight, but look at this shirt here. I just couldn't. I couldn't leave the hot topic without picking up the shirt. I just could not do that. The flashbacks were amazing. I recently watched those scenes. Yeah, definitely mind blowing. Definitely, definitely. Oh my goodness. And people were complaining that, oh, look, how come Rory and Michael didn't have a scene together? Oh, they should have had a me match. Oh, what a letdown. Oh, they didn't fight. Um, you see the injuries that she suffered just from being stabbed in the belly. Yeah, and then you see her try to escape, and then she failed. Like it was an epic fail on her part to try to get out of the hospital and go out there and have a round two, or in this case, a round three with Michael Myers. That wouldn't have worked so well. It wouldn't have worked. It wouldn't have worked. She's in no condition to go out there, and so that's why Lori had to take a back seat. I mean, it's just realistic, and it's the first of a trilogy, or the second of the trilogy. Yeah, like this, like the second movie in the trilogy, typically is where they have the most fun. Like where they delay getting to the finish line. I mean, that's what second movies in the trilogy do. Am I not right? I mean, people have had these kind of complaints about The Matrix Reloaded, like, oh, like It's just a filler thing to get to the final movie. Like, I don't look at it that way. I mean, I guess if you feel that way, then I guess trilogies are really not for you. And I guess you were expecting what you were expecting in this movie. Um, Basically, is what we're gonna get in Halloween Ends. But you're thinking like, okay, why couldn't we get that here? I mean, I'm thinking back to when the 2018 sequel came out, and I was like, I wanted this to be a one thing. Like, I wanted this to be the last movie, and they left a lot of doors open purposely just to see how it would do. And then now I'm kind of glad that they did that. That we're getting one more movie. We got this movie, the second movie in the trilogy, and now we're gonna get one more. At first, the idea of a trilogy was like, no, I just want it all to be in this one movie, the 2018 sequel, and then that'll be it. But what was I thinking? Like, it really makes me feel more relieved about that anticlimactic ending that 2018 sequel had. Some people feel like this movie did had that, but it was on purpose because we're getting one more movie. Otherwise, if it had like an ending where everything was okay and then Michael was defeated, and then you'll think to yourself, what is the point of Halloween Ends? I mean, from the way it ended, what's the point? So, yeah, I mean, like, since they announced two of those movies, I went into it knowing that it was probably going to end pretty badly for the characters, for the people of Haddonfield. From the title of the movie, from the fact that it's the middle of a trilogy, I knew that they were doomed to fail. And everyone's surprised and disappointed that they that they failed to take this guy down in this movie. Now, if this were Halloween Ends, I'd be right there with you. Like, come on, you said this is the last movie. Let him be defeated. But then again, he may not be defeated in Halloween Ends. But it's fun to have a whole year to speculate on that. While I enjoy that we finally have Halloween Kills after we waited a whole freaking year for that movie to get here. Like, it was worth it, worth the wait. And but feel free to tell me what you thought about the movie. Do you disagree with what I said? And if you're just now joining, feel free to rewind back to what I said and then come back here and then just tell me what you think. But oh my goodness. I'm just glad that we got, Halloween back, and then it's back to where it's like to where the sequel should have been. But I mean, the retcon sequels that I got, even though I enjoyed this movie, that was pretty hard when the characters were. I was pretty. Yeah, I get it. But I mean, dumb characters are basically a common element in a horror movie. Definitely a slasher movie. I mean, we've gotten dumb characters in the Halloween movies before. Like, think to the Rob Zombie movies, like where basically a lot of those characters in that movie are pretty dumb to where when they see Michael, they just step up to him and go like, "Yeah, I'll fuck you up. What are you gonna do? Yeah, I'm gonna fuck you up. Yeah, get the fuck out of my face. Ooh, you ain't shit." Like, it's usually that's what like the victims in those movies usually do before they get killed, where they're like, "Yeah, I will fuck you up." I don't know. And don't get me started on Halloween Resurrection. Don't get me started. Like, now I can look at that movie and just say, thank God that Jamie Lee Curtis agreed to come back and give her, you know, like, like, I guess a good story to rally behind and a good conclusion that she could be happy with, and just let her close the chapter of Laurie Strode and not open it again, or just cheat her into opening it up again. Like, yeah, guess what? Surprise! We're making another one. We want you to come back. No, just let it. Like, she came back to end it on a high note, and that's something that was ripped away from her when they did Halloween H2O, and I guess they're making up for that now. And with the right people behind it, and they're like, yeah, we want to do this here, and we know where we want to end it. So I love that they're doing that with this trilogy. Definitely. And man, um, it seemed like Michael was having a bit more fun with the kills in this movie. Like as brutal as he was in this movie, it looked like he was having a little bit of fun to where, I mean, like with some of his victims, like with I think Marcus and Vanessa, the nurse and the doctor, where he put them on the little merry-go-round type ride in the playground, and he puts masks on them or the Halloween masks on them, and also like when he's in the house at the beginning of the movie after he leaves Lori's house that's burning on fire, and then he heads over to the like the woman who works at the cemetery, and then I guess her husband, attacks them, and then as he is stabbing her husband, as she's watching, he's almost behaving a little almost childlike. I mean, some other people touched base on that too, but I have noticed that too, like the way he moves, grabs a knife, stabs him, goes over, tries to, or he picks up another knife like it's a toy that he shouldn't play with, where he's like that, like we're like he's kind of having fun with it, and uh, and with Big John and Little John. Oh my! I was afraid when I heard that there were characters named that, like when in some spoiler-free reviews that I came across, I was almost afraid that was gonna take me out of the movie a bit, but it actually didn't. I was actually able still managing to enjoy it when they had that in the mix. But it actually worked. And also, I mean, we got to talk about this petition that they tried to say, like, we'll remove the firefighter scene, remove it, da 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 da. Like, I don't know. I just feel like just don't watch the movie if that offends you. Just don't watch it. Say, okay, that scene offended me, and I'm not watching this movie again. That's simple. Stop trying to ruin. Don't try to ruin it for everyone else who wants to go see the movie. And then also another article came online where they're like, yeah, Michael Myers is homophobic. I knew that was gonna happen. I knew somebody was gonna say that. Like, look, Michael Myers does not care what lifestyle you live, how old you are, how young you are, what color skin you are, or what color skin you have, or what you do for a living, or whether you save lives or whatever. It doesn't. None of that matters to him. If he decides that he wants to kill you, that's what he is going to do. I mean, like it could be like a heterosexual couple that lives in the Myers house, and he would slaughter them just as brutal, just as brutal. He wouldn't spare them because it's a man and a woman. Like no, because you're in his house. That's what painted a target on your back because you're living in his house. And I love the fact that this movie is so nostalgic to the point where they relied more on practical effects, like they did back in the day, where there's very little CGI relying in this movie. Like with the kills, definitely with the kills, I'm like wow. I mean, they looked good in 2018, but here they looked fantastic. Like wow, like even when the inmate jumped, like he jumped off the out of the window, and then you see his body, like after his body hit the pavement, and then people are gathering around looking at his body as it's twitching and stuff. I'm like, wow, like that looked very believable to where there is no CGI. Like I like the fact that it's $20 million, and then they kept as far away from CGI as they possibly, as they possibly could. So that's pretty fucking cool. Pretty fucking cool. And and I just love the soundtrack. I mean, I think that the soundtrack is way better than the 2018 one, and that's saying a lot because the 2018 one is really good. Yes, yeah, bro. Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more there. Yeah, people like to complain. Yeah, like it's been people have been doing that since they've done slasher movies. Like they've done that when Friday the 13th first started with the first movie, and then when they decided to make sequel after sequel, they found out something else to complain about. Like it's just crazy. Like with violence in movies and blubby blubby blubby. Like in this case, some moviegoers like you and I are complaining about how stupid the characters are. Like characters in other horror movies or slasher movies have always been smart. Like the ones who get killed. I mean, yeah, some characters are more dumb than others, like when in that situation. But in the end of the day, like, would you really want a lot of these people to escape the killers in the movie? Where you're like, okay, you want to go see a horror movie, and there's hardly any body counts because everyone was smart and they outrun the killer. You people would be still be disappointed. Don't act like you wouldn't be. You would still be disappointed. I mean, like, get it. Like the movie. I guess the movie wants you to kind of root for these characters to survive and whatever. I guess they succeeded in that by you saying, "Oh, you're stupid" when they when they fail or if they die in some other way. Mm. And I'd say the movie deserves a higher rating on Rotten Tomatoes, and I really don't care for that website, but they have rated like a lot of these Halloween sequels low, except for the 2018 one. They gave that a pretty good rating, but I don't know. These critics just don't like horror movies, or I guess they're very picky. I don't know, but this movie deserves a lot more credit than what it has been given already. I mean, I'd say it deserves more love. I mean, like, why are you criticizing the movie for what is to be expected? It's called Halloween Kills. He's gonna have a high body count, and you're mad because Michael killed him because they're stupid. Like, oh come on, that's so stupid. Y'all are so stupid. Yeah, some of them could have made better decisions, but so can any other character in other movies. And man, yeah, like now the more that I look back on the fact that um this whole trilogy was going to take place on one night, when you look at like I'm kind of relieved that it's going to be a time jump in Halloween Ends because if it all took place on one night, things will look really bad. Like I said, things will look really, really, really bad for Lori if she were to go back out there on that same night. Due to her just having been injured on that same night. Yeah, like it wouldn't be so good for her. I mean, she would probably die as quickly as those other characters that he killed in this movie. I mean, especially to the fact that she burned down basically all of her weapons in her house, like where she had an ass load of guns in her house, and then she just burned that all to the ground. You know? So yeah, she's in no condition to fight on this particular night. So when we do the time jump, it's convenient for the surviving characters of Halloween Kills because that gives them a chance to heal and recover. And then by the time Michael and Rory have their final showdown, I think it'll be more of a fair fight. But in all fairness, I want like let's be real, I want both of these characters, Glory Strode and Michael Myers, to fuck each other up. Fuck each other up, definitely. And Allison has to, needs to have a little bit of the action too because she lost a lot of people in that night in this movie, Halloween Kills, and she needs to have a little bit of vengeance. But I feel like it's going to end with her being the last one standing, and then it'll be with a grain of salt. That victory will be with a grain of salt because Like basically everyone she loves is gone. Like I feel like oh yeah, I feel like she will lose more people in this movie and Halloween Ends. I just feel like that's what's going to happen, and Lori is definitely going to be one of them. I feel like they should have the balls to kill off Michael in the most crazy way, like where they throw everything at him, just fuck this guy up as much as possible, like you never would have in other sequels, where you're like, okay, we can't do that. We want to keep him mostly intact, so in case this movie does well, we can make another movie, and then another, and then another, then another. I get it that Mustafa Akkad, kind of had that policy, and I applaud him for that. I actually am glad that he that he had that there, but um, yeah, it's a shame that he wasn't here to really see this new timeline unfold. But yeah, it would be pretty cool to see. Like, it seems like that policy has been lifted, where it's been pushed aside to where, like, people know, like David Gordon Green and Danny McBride know where they want to finish it, and I'm glad that they're not saying, well, let's make movie, make more and more and more and more until the milk runs out, and then it's like, okay, you missed your chance to end it on a high. Now you're back at square one. But yeah, I don't know. Does anybody out there agree with me, or are you in the majority of those people that said, yeah, this movie sucks because these characters are stupid? Like no one would act this way, and then the whole mob, it's just figured. I mean, if you do feel that way, I mean, that's your opinion, but I just don't agree with you. I feel like this movie deserves more credit than what you give it. If you are out there and you're like, yeah, this movie sucked for this reason and that reason, because characters are stupid and whatever. But it's a lot of, and I have not heard one person say that, yeah, I hate this movie because Michael Myers is just a bore, a letdown. Like, not one person complained about Michael Myers, and I mean, that's reassuring because he was fucking amazing. I mean, James Q. Courtney is like right on my top three. He might be almost be the definitive Michael Myers to me. Like, I still can't believe I met that guy. I mean, he came here at Still CityCon back in August, like this past August. Like, it was about a few months ago, and he took the time to really talk to me and my girlfriend, like where we were there in his line, and then he wasn't trying to make things snappy when he talked to us. I mean, he actually took like almost 5 minutes to really interact, and that was pretty freaking cool. And it even felt like we were interacting with a celebrity. It was like with another regular person, like where someone you would happen to run into in a when you're out shopping or whatever, and you happen to get caught up in the conversation. That's how it felt interacting with him, and seeing him as Michael Myers was just like, wow, like he was pretty intimidating. And I'm like, I can't believe I met him. Like, if any of you guys didn't have a chance to meet him and you want to and you're able to, definitely worth it. Definitely worth it. But I think I may wrap this live stream up. I feel like I touched base on everything that I can think of. And also, people were saying, like, when the mob actually was able to, get like confront Michael, and then they get the upper hand the first time, they beat him down or whatever, and everyone is forgetting. They seem to be forgetting the fact that Lee Brackett um, walked up to him after Karen stabbed him in the back. He was scary to basically blow his head off. Like, he pointed his gun right at Michael's head, right before Michael grabbed the knife out of his back and then slashed Lee Brackett's throat pretty quickly. But people were saying like, oh, they just beat him down assuming he's dead, and they didn't even try to shoot him or anything when he was down. Not true. I mean, Brackett was about to do it, but Michael was too fast for him. And that's pretty wild how almost everybody who survived the first movie and came back in this one is dead, except for Lindsay. So Lindsay's the only one that came out of there unscathed. That's crazy. And I don't know if anyone touched base on this yet, but when Tommy was before Tommy was killed, and he was ready to come at Michael with the baseball bat, and then Michael stabs him, and they have that moment where they have that deep, intense moment where they look at each other in the eyes, and then when Tommy looks into Michael's eyes, he is terrified. You see the look of fear on Tommy's face when he's looking at him, and then when he's on the ground right before Michael's getting ready to kill him, he looked terrified, like where he looked into the eyes, the blackest eyes, the devil's eyes, and I think that's the first time he really experienced being afraid, like seeing the shape across the street or seeing him standing there is one thing, but actually standing toe to toe with him and looking into his eyes, I mean, it's just, he was horrified. He was horrified. Like, that's something I've noticed, like, wow, that is pretty wild. But people would think that since he is pretty aware of who the boogeyman is and what he's capable of, he wouldn't be, I guess, he wouldn't be so in over his head. Whereas, like, he said, yeah, Michael killed 11 first responders or whatnot. And then a second later, he tells Lonnie that the only way we're ever going to stop him is that if we all come together. Well, the first responders weren't so successful in that. The firemen had the right tools, and they weren't successful at that. Just saying. Just saying. And I can't believe Halloween is over. I'm pretty sad that it's over now. I mean, I just wanted October to stay. Now it's basically November, basically, but I mean, we have next year. I mean, I really had fun this month just waiting for this movie to come out and then watching my favorite parts of the movie on Peacock and then seeing it in theaters twice. I mean, that's how much I love the movie, where I wanted to do well, and I imagine that I will do really well on its Halloween weekend. I think it would do really well. And I had a better experience the second time than the first time, because with the first time, you know, there was this guy who was sitting like 3 seats, I guess, three seats away from me or whatever, and then he had a date with him, and he just was talking way too loud, and you can tell he was not enjoying the movie. But that does not justify the fact that you got a big ass mouth. It does not justify that at all. Like, you should have kept your ass home and watched it on Peacock for all that shit. I mean, other people paid to go see the movie. They didn't pay to hear you have a commentary of how you don't like the movie and how you don't like what's going on. I mean, if the movie bothers you that bad, just walk out of the theater. Don't ruin it for everybody else. Seriously, don't ruin the movie experience for everybody else. But yeah, but with the second time I went to go see it, it was fine. Nobody was, like, given any trouble whatsoever, or nothing like that. I mean, it was a good experience. I had fun. My girlfriend had a good time. I mean, we had a good time watching it the first 2 times. Well, the first and second time, but the second time was more. It was more like a fresh air because nobody was talking over it and trying to, because they didn't like it or whatever. If you didn't like it, that doesn't justify the fact that you know that you're messing it the experience, messing up the experience for everybody else who went to go see it in a movie theater. I mean, like, it's just common sense, And wow, what a movie! I like this. I watched this like several times on Peacock and twice in theaters, and I can say that I still like this movie more than the 2018 one. And that's saying a lot because I really did like that one. And in my personal opinion, the 2018 one felt more anticlimactic at that time than how people are saying with this one. I can't say that about this one because this is the middle of a trilogy. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oops. Okay. Girlfriend's kicking me out of the bath. Out of here. Okay, I'm go to a different room here. Okay. Different room. Hold on. Okay. Here we go. Now, it just yeah, it's the middle of a trilogy, so I was expecting there to be a cliffhanger and for things to end badly for the characters who are going, yeah, let's go get him. Evil dies tonight. Evil dies tonight. Evil dies tonight. But anyway, I went into this movie knowing that these people are in way over their heads and they're gonna find out the hard way that you're not dealing with just one guy. You're dealing with the boogeyman, and he is a force to be reckoned with. A force to be reckoned with. And that's what happened. And a lot of people are angry about that. I mean, come on. I mean, it's called Halloween Kills. I mean, do you want the movie not to live up to its name? If it didn't, then you'd be disappointed. Probably more disappointed than you are right now because it lived up to its name. Okay, big deal. People are stupid in the movies. Oh boy. I'm just sick of hearing the complaints about the movie. I'm just sick of it. I mean, if you're one of those people who are like, "Yeah, I'm sick of it too." I mean, hey, that's your opinion. That's your opinion. But it's spreading like wildfire, and it's more annoying. Like I'm more annoyed by that than how these people are annoyed with yeah, I know like I don't know. All right, see you, Brooke. Thanks for joining the live stream. But yeah, I mean like I'm sorry if you guys didn't enjoy it, but I'm just I mean it's just the fact that people are rallying together to basically like say this movie is bad. It's bad enough people are trying to get this movie taken out of theaters because firemen because excuse me because of firemen being killed or because a gay couple was killed in the movie. I mean, come on, can we just stop with the complaints already? Thank God that the and that Halloween ends is secure to be made, and it's not relying on how this movie does, or like how the 2018 was relying on how like how Halloween Kills was relying on how 2018 was gonna do. I'm glad that's not the case with Halloween Ends. Like, regardless of how you feel about Halloween Kills or how it does in the box office, Halloween Ends is on the way, and I cannot freaking wait for it. So it doesn't matter what we all think. I mean, the next and final movie in the trilogy is going to be upon us next October. It can't get here fast enough. It just cannot get here fast enough. Seriously. But I'm trying to think of what else that I need to cover on this movie before I sign off here. I feel like I did touch base on about everything, but just about everything. But I will admit that like the where the nurse was shooting at Michael and then she kept missing and then Michael kicked the door open and then it swung open and then smacked her hand and then changed it made her point the gun at her face and then went off and then she shot herself. It was pretty funny. I mean, it was different. It was funny. And but yeah, people are complaining like, yeah, why didn't you get out of the vehicle or why didn't you shoot him and whatever and that scene like you could, but um who's this do you really think that they would still make it through like if they were to successfully just get out of there and shoot him, like while he's on top of the SUV. I mean, you know, I don't think so. I think we've seen people try that strategy in other slasher movies where they're able to do a smart decision and able to get away to a certain degree, and then they fail. Like, that's just how it is in slasher movies. But, mm, like I said, um, I watched it. I feel like I watched the movie enough to where I would pick up on things that I didn't like, and that list is very small, very small. Not enough to where I'm like, yeah, I don't like the movie as much as I did. Like I don't see that happening. I mean, I'll defend this movie with my dying breath. I will do that. I understand why people don't like it. I get it, but I'm gonna stand against that. Like, if you were to ask me what did I think of the movie, I'd say that you just don't like horror movies or slasher movies because these are things that, let's see what time it is, what you would expect. But that's something you need to keep in mind when you go see a horror movie. I mean, stupidity is an element that is needed, and that's what helps progress a horror movie, especially a slasher movie. Especially, I know usually a kill happens when the character's guards are down, and then you'll know the killer is heading to them or whatever, and that kind of is taken away from this movie. It only happens a couple times. Like normally when Michael breaks into someone's house and kills them, like into the couple, the interracial elderly couple, and earlier on with the woman who works at the cemetery and her husband, like there was that, and then Michael breaking into his childhood home in the Myers house and kills Big John and Little John. It only happened a couple times, but yeah, I mean, since before I sign off here, like with Halloween ends coming, um, yeah, I hope they don't try to cram the pandemic, like element down our throats too much. I hope it doesn't take over the overall synopsis that this is the final chapter and we should be focusing on Rory and Michael get ready to have their final showdown and Allison and Hawkins, and then I think that it was confirmed that Lindsay's going to be back too, and just focused on those leads and see how they're going to handle Michael when they face him one last time. And my only thing is like, okay, during this gap between Halloween Kills and Ends, like, what is Michael doing? Because he's out there. He hasn't been caught. He hasn't been defeated. He accomplished his mission to be back home in the Myers house at the end of the movie. And then we time jump into 2022 and Halloween ends, and it's just like, okay, so what happens? Like, what does he do in that gap period? Like, what does he lay low and then he resurfaces? Like when we get to Halloween ends, like, or what's going on here? I mean, that's what I want to know. As far as Lori goes, yeah, that's time for her to recover and basically stew on the fact that Karen was killed, and then Allison as well. I mean, like for Allison to basically definitely heavily grieve on her death, and then her father's death, and then her friends, and then her boyfriend. Like the poor girl cannot catch a break. And I think we're going to see a different Allison by the time the next movie starts. And it will be, the tension will be very high. Be very high. I think maybe Lori may begin to train her, and like when we see her again and whatnot. Mm-hmm. I mean, I guess we'll just have to wait and see. But I feel like I've said everything in the spoiler video. Um, maybe like maybe new things will come to me after I upload this video, and then I will just do like a Halloween end speculation video or whatnot, maybe. or maybe I'll wait until like it gets closer. I don't know, but I am definitely enjoying the fact that this Halloween Kills is here, and it's freaking awesome. Almost as I enjoyed it this as much as almost every other Halloween movie, and I loved most of them. So yeah, feel free to tell me what you think of the spoilers. What did you like? What didn't you like? And whatever. Just feel free to tell me. And yeah, I think I'm gonna sign off here for right now. So thank you for some of the guys who did join in and talk to me about the movie. And I hope I see you guys soon. So all right, signing off here. Peace out, guys. Have a safe one.